everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Expert. Today, I'm talking again with Chloe, our mortgage broker. She's here to tell us a little bit more about why you want to use a mortgage broker instead of a bank directly through your bank. Thanks very much for joining me today, Chloe.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about why you think the average Joe should be coming to you as opposed to going directly to a bank?
Yeah, there's like numerous reasons, right? One, let's talk about customer service, right? There's no set hours for a mortgage broker for the most part, right? We're pretty accessible and we work for you, right? We don't work for the lenders. So you're going to get options that are good for you and best suited to you and your plans and what you're trying to accomplish in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years, right? Another thing is that we have many different products that any client can fit into. So if you're not your regular type of income and job, et cetera, when you go to the bank, there's only so many products you can fit in, right? And you have to fit into their criteria. So we have more lenders, right? More lenders that we are able to make sure that we have a lender for your type of needs, right?
So when you're talking about products, you're obviously talking about the different lenders and the different kind of conditions and rates and all of the stuff that they provide, whether or not you're going to even get an approval from them. Do you find that the banks, like how many products or lenders can they use other than their individual bank?
So the banks have their set kind of guidelines for whatever type of program or product that they offer, what type of mortgage they offer for a client, right? So, if somebody comes in and they have, income, let's just say they get dividend income and not just, employment income or self-employed income. So like you have to fit into the criteria that they have. With a mortgage broker, we still work with big banks. We still work with Scotia and TD. Those are the two that work on the broker channel. And they're fantastic for a lot of reasons, but there's also more lenders out there that can offer potentially better terms, better rates. So it's basically assessing your client, figuring out what they're trying to do, what their income is like, and then figuring out which lender that they are best suited for.
Yeah. How many lenders does a mortgage broker like yourself have access to?
So many, right? Like you could go up to as high as 90. You don't necessarily need them all. You need, you have your A-type clients who are like the banks and monoline lenders that offer really great rates. Monoline lenders are basically lenders that only deal in mortgages, right? So they don't have savings accounts and checkings accounts, just strictly mortgages. And those are the A-type clients, right? Then you have your B lenders, right? So this is where the income is a little bit grayer. Maybe you're self-employed and your NOAs are low, but you can show you deposits into your business bank account. So these are a little bit of a higher rate. They have 1%, 1 to 2% fee attached to them. And then you have your privates, right? Where your income is, or your credit is not great. Your income is maybe a little bit gray again. And then there's obviously more fees incorporated in that particular type of loan. But, remember, sometimes that's the type that's needed, right? So we have to assess our client and figure out which option is best for them. Me personally, I like to use my B and private lenders and as a strategy to get their foot in the door for a 1-year term and have an exit strategy to move them over to the A side or private to B, B to A, et cetera. I don't like to keep people in products like that for too long because, the rates are higher and there's a lot of fees that come with that.
One thing I do notice with a lot of people who start in those lower tier lenders, obviously you're going to have a higher interest rate. You're going to have more conditions, or you may even have to pay fees up front to get those people to lend you money. But it's definitely on the homeowner to get their arse in gear, fix their credit, do whatever they need to get their taxes and other issues sorted out, because the longer you're in that tier, the longer you suffer financially unnecessarily. I think in a lot of cases, people think you're going to stay at a high interest rate forever, but that's a means to an end. It's to get into the market because the market increases so frequently that you are put at a disadvantage if you don't take the risk. But that doesn't negate the responsibility of yourself to pull yourself out of those brackets and get into better quality lenders over time as you improve your financial position. But yeah, I have to say that because it's like, that's part of what we do as well, is to like work together to make sure that our clients are actually progressing, as opposed to, okay, now we're in the house and now they sit back down and then they start letting their finances go again because they're in a home, but they don't realize that higher interest rate is slowly chipping away at their equity or their earning power.
Yeah, well, you have to think too, when you're in a private, you're typically not paying any principal. It's interest only payments, right? So especially in those instances, you definitely want that to be very short term. The investor wants their money back, and we don't want them in that product for more than a year anyhow, right? So there's always got to be an exit strategy. And for me, I always work really, closely with my clients and give them the information they need, and tell them exactly what they need to do to make sure that we can, at renewal, move them over to a better situation.
So Chloe, when is a good time for a buyer or prospective buyer to contact a mortgage broker?
So ideally, it's obviously the first thing they do, but we tend to see that unless there's sort of a relationship formed with a mortgage broker, 9 times out of 10, right, the realtor is actually referring out to somebody that they know. But essentially, when you don't want to look until you're pre-approved, right? And truly pre-approved, not pre-qualified. Pre-qualified is not giving documentation. It's just basically giving, some verbal information and not necessarily pulling a credit check, right? You want to be, getting your documentation in order, pulling a credit check, really seeing what the true story is, so that you and, your realtor can go out there with confidence and buy.
Especially in this market where
Yeah.
so many offers that don't give you the opportunity to have a financing inspection, or you lose out more often than not because you have a condition, which is bonkers, because certainly in the past it's been like, okay, you get your mortgage approval and then you get a commitment, and then the commitment is when you finally say 100% I got the house. Now it's, you have to solidly respect and trust your mortgage professional to be honest with you about what you can afford, because the last thing you want to do is to make a commitment on a pre-approval or a pre-qualified amount, and then find out, oh, your job isn't sufficient, or you don't make the consistent income, or there's an issue with your credit, and all of these things. And now all of a sudden you have to come up with a bigger down payment or something, whereas the money isn't there. So it's exceptionally important. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. Why would you start looking and get your heart attached to something if you can't actually follow through, if it turns out to be the perfect house? More often than not, then you set your expectations too high. And then when you actually know the number, everything's going to seem disappointing to you, because you're going to have something that is at a bracket you couldn't have afforded anyways.
And it's heartbreaking, right? You don't want to go out there and not know, or think maybe that you qualify for this, and when you really don't. And, it may be a little frustrating to have to, collect a ton of documents, but it's going to have to happen at some point. So why not get it out of the way in the beginning? And then it's the odd thing here or there later on after the accepted offer, right? You really want to make sure that you maybe can go in with a firm offer, no condition of financing, right? And I don't ever advise anyone do that unless I kind of given them the go ahead, right? Because I have to do my job, make sure that they're able to do that. Sometimes I don't suggest it, and if we lose out, we lose out, right? But it's for protection of the client, right? So
absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chloe, for joining us on this segment of Ask an Expert. You've been fantastic. And certainly, how can our viewers reach you if they have questions for you about mortgages?
Yeah, so my phone number is 647-920-5596. You can call or text anytime. I'm on the Instagram. I'm Chloe Colella _ mortgage broker. And I'm on Facebook as well. I have a personal page, and I also have a business page. So I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Awesome. Thanks again, Chloe. I look forward to working with you again in the future. And I appreciate you joining us on this video series.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Have a great day.
Good day.